Welcome back to Counseling Sessions with Dr. Kelley, where real people ask real questions about faith, relationships, family, purpose, culture, and everyday life. Here's today's question.
Dear Dr. Kelley, how do I know when God is removing someone from my life or when I'm just giving up on the relationship? I have somebody I've been close to for years. I love them and we have a lot of history together, but lately, everything feels different. Conversations feel forced. We keep misunderstanding each other. Things I used to overlook bother me now. And honestly, I feel more at peace when we're apart than when we're together. I've prayed about it, but I'm confused. Part of me thinks God may be separating us because I'm entering a different season. But another part of me wonders if that's just something Christians say when we don't want to do the hard work of fixing a relationship. I don't want to walk away from somebody God wants in my life. But I also don't want to keep forcing something God is trying to end. How can I tell the difference? Signed, trying to discern the distance.
Now that is a mature question, because you didn't ask me, how do I get rid of somebody? You asked, how do I discern what's happening? And there is a difference, because everything uncomfortable is not God telling you to leave. Sometimes God is telling you to grow. Sometimes relationships become uncomfortable because there's a conversation you've been avoiding. Sometimes you need to apologize. Sometimes you need to forgive. Sometimes you need better boundaries. Sometimes both people need to mature. So we have to be careful with this language. God is removing people from my life, because sometimes God didn't remove anybody. You got mad. Come on. Sometimes God didn't close the door. You slammed it. Sometimes the relationship isn't over. You just haven't learned how to have difficult conversations. And I think we have created a culture where the minute somebody disappoints us, we call them toxic. Everybody ain't toxic. Some people are just human. They make mistakes. You make mistakes too. So before you decide God is removing somebody, ask yourself, have I communicated? Have I told them what's bothering me? Have I given them an opportunity to respond? Have I prayed about this when I wasn't angry? Have I sought wise counsel? Have I looked at my own behavior? Because discernment requires more than emotion. But there is another side to this. There are relationships that really do change. And one of the hardest things about growing is realizing that everybody who was appropriate for one season may not fit the next one in the same way. Notice what I said. I didn't say they're bad people. I didn't say they're evil. I didn't say God doesn't love them. I said the relationship may have changed. That's important, because sometimes we're trying to find a villain when there isn't one. Nobody cheated. Nobody betrayed anybody. Nobody did anything terrible. You just grew in different directions. And that's one of the hardest relationships to release, because there's nobody to blame. Sometimes there is no bad guy. There's just a completed chapter. Now, how do you discern that? One thing I would look for is pattern, not moments. Don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Everybody gets irritated. Everybody needs space sometimes. But if over an extended period, the relationship continually produces confusion, resentment, dishonesty, manipulation, disrespect, or pressure to become somebody you are no longer called to be, pay attention. And especially pay attention to what happens when you start growing. Because some people love you, but they love the version of you they learned how to manage. When you start setting boundaries, they say you've changed. When you start saying no, they say you're acting funny. When you start getting serious about your purpose, they say you think you're better than everybody. And sometimes what they really mean is, the version of you I had access to doesn't exist anymore. That's not always arrogance. Sometimes that's growth. But here's where humility comes in. Don't turn your growth into somebody else's indictment. You don't have to announce, God told me you're not assigned to my next season. Please don't do that. Just because the relationship is changing doesn't mean you have to make somebody feel spiritually inferior. Sometimes you can simply say, I love you. I appreciate what we've shared, but I recognize that our relationship is changing. That's maturity. And here's something else. Distance doesn't always mean destruction. Some relationships don't need to end. They need a different position. Everybody doesn't have to be cut off. Maybe somebody who used to have front row access now belongs 3 rows back. Maybe somebody who used to get a phone call every day now gets one once a month. Maybe you can still love them, but you stop allowing them to influence major decisions. That's not hatred. That's understanding levels of access. Jesus loved everybody, but everybody didn't have the same access to Jesus. There were crowds, there were disciples, there were 12, there were 3, and there were moments when Jesus went by himself. Love can be universal while access remains selective. That's wisdom. Now let me give you another test. Ask yourself, who am I becoming when I'm around this person? That's powerful. Do I become more peaceful, more disciplined, more honest, more focused, more compassionate, more faithful? Or do I continually become the version of myself I've been praying to outgrow? Because relationships don't just reveal who people are. Relationships influence who we become. And sometimes God isn't removing somebody because they're bad. He's changing the relationship because you cannot become who you're called to be while constantly returning to who you used to be. But don't rush it. Pray, communicate, observe, give grace, look for patterns, and don't manufacture a spiritual explanation simply because you're uncomfortable. If it's repairable, repair it. If an apology is needed, give it. If forgiveness is needed, forgive. If counseling can help, get counseling. But after you've done the healthy work, if you still recognize that the relationship no longer belongs in the same place, you are allowed to accept what has changed. And you don't have to hate somebody to release them. Sometimes love says, thank you for the chapter. And wisdom says, but I cannot force you into the next one. Not every distance is rejection. Sometimes distance is direction. But discernment means you don't call every disagreement a divine separation. Do the work. Have the conversation. Check your own heart. Pray. Watch the patterns. And then have enough courage to accept the answer, even when the answer isn't what you wanted. Some relationships need restoration. Some relationships need boundaries. Some relationships need distance. And some relationships simply need to be remembered with gratitude instead of maintained through guilt. I'm Dr. Kelley, and this has been another counseling session. If you've got a question you've been afraid to ask, faith, relationships, family, church, purpose, culture, money, leadership, or life, send it in. Real questions, real counsel, real answers. And until next time, don't force what God is finished with, but don't abandon what God is trying to mature. Learn the difference.